1, and live cricket, West Indies Zimbabwe at 10 on Sky Sports 3. This is Sky Sports.
The biggest crowd Zandvoort has ever seen. The stats spoke for themselves last weekend as A1GP launched into Season 2 in some style in Amsterdam.
Away we go! And look how Saga's gone up! He's into second place! And GBR's off!
The reigning title holders are not going to score in the feature race. What a race!
One driver to make an immediate impact, South African youngster Adrian Zaug, the 19-year-old, converting pole into a first race win in A1GP, an impressive debut in front of a partisan Dutch crowd.
And it's Team South Africa to take their first ever win.
Making a good first impression, the order of the day as another new driver made his mark on the series, teenager Nico Hulkenberg, sealing a first A1GP race victory for himself and Team Germany to put them top of the standings.
It's Nico Hulkenberg for Team Germany who takes the victory at Zandvoort in the feature race.
The venue this weekend is the Automotodrome Brno, just a short journey away from the historical and very beautiful city centre. It's the second race day of the new series, and today it's qualifying from the Czech Republic. Hi there, what a way to start a new A1GP season with a sellout crowd in Zandvoort and with two exciting races that produced two new winners, both on their series debuts. So a promising beginning to Season 2. We're hoping for more of the same from the Czech Republic this weekend. Team GBR's Darren Manning has stepped out of the A1 car for a couple of days. He joins me and motor racing expert Tony Jardine in the studio. Going to hear from the boys in just a minute. First, though, let's just remind you of how it all ended in Zandvoort. The sprint race seeing Adrian Zaug home first, Mexico and Salvador Duran second, and third the champions France and Nicolas Lapierre, Great Britain finishing fifth. As for the feature, well, Germany took it. Nico Hulkenberg on his debut, second the USA and Phil Giebler, third Australia, and seventh spot in the end for Team GBR. Privileged to get the thoughts then of Darren to that race weekend in the studio, 5th and 7th respectively. So you did still come away with the points, but were you slightly disappointed in the end?
Yeah, really, especially with that second race, the feature race there. Everything nearly just fell into place with our strategy. We were first to pit and we were leading on the leading of the pitted runners until the heavens opened and we all had to change back onto wet tyres and then back onto slick. So a bit disappointing, but at least we got some points in the bag to start the season.
And let's look on further positives, because it is the first race of a new season. So do you think the level of competition is perhaps higher than it was last year?
Yeah, absolutely, massively. You're seeing already with two new rookie guys winning, and the lap times in qualifying were extremely close. You know, we were a bit disappointed to be fifth again as well, with a little mistake I made in that last segment. So yeah, everybody's got to grips with the cars. All the teams have, all the drivers have as well. You know, everything got kicked off a bit fast last season, and whereas now they've had a good summer, the off season, to really work on themselves and the setups of the car, so it's really close.
Tony, two fantastic races in Zandvoort, huge crowd turnout as well. Presumably you couldn't ask for a better start to a new season, but how important now is it to sustain it, starting with the Czech Republic?
I think year two it's vital, because at Brands Hatch you had the same sort of success, you know, 70,000 plus crowd. Sustain it, get a decent crowd here. I think certainly some of the street races that are coming up are going to be hugely popular, but it needs to go on to year 3 and 4. I think it has the capability of doing that. It's extremely popular so far.
Looking ahead to qualifying then, Darren, what do you think Team GBR's strategy is going to be for today?
I think this time it's going to be all out for pole. I mean, even though this track, I think, Tony, you'll agree, you know, we've got a track here in Brno that's going to be good for overtaking and racing, so qualifying isn't going to be as important as we thought maybe Zandvoort was, because that's a difficult track for overtaking, but they'll still be going all out for pole. We know we've got a quick car there, and they might choose to use the new tyres a bit differently than what we did in Zandvoort and try and get a two sectors in the bag early, an actual qualifying lap in the bag early, so but they'll be still going for pole for sure.
Tony, in your mind's eye, who are the main contenders this weekend then?
Well, I think you've got the regulars up there, but you've got to look at people like Thomas Enger and the Czech team because they know it really well. Some of the established stars were expecting Team GBR to be up there as well. But it's nice to see the emerging nations. Again, I'm watching China very closely because Frankie Cheng was 9th this morning. That's very respectable. But talking about this track, it is the hills are alive. I mean, it's uphill, down Dale, the Moravian Forest District, and it's close to Austria, which gives you a bit of a clue. They've been yodeling. You hear the cowbells from inside the car.
Yeah, let's just stop this discussion before you both end up singing, because that could be totally disastrous. Now, Darren, kicking back in the luxury of our studio, as you've seen. So who is in the driving seat for Team GBR this weekend? Lee McKenzie reveals all.
Thanks very much, Georgie. Well, welcome to Brno and welcome back to Robbie Kerr, the Team Great Britain driver who's in the seat for this weekend. Robbie, you've had a busy summer of racing, but you're back representing your country.
No, it's fantastic to be back, and we've had a good test session today, and so just really looking forward to qualifying. I'm sure it's going to be close and tight as ever, but I know we can be up there.
It's quite a complex circuit, this one. What do you think is going to be key this afternoon in qualifying?
Well, obviously getting a clear lap, making sure no one holds you up at all, but just keep it smooth, and anyone who gets that little bit sideways, anything, you can just lose that crucial 10th, and it's no longer pole.
Robbie, thanks very much. Best of luck. Well, also joining me is the rookie driver, Ollie Jarvis. Ollie, this is your first year in A1GP, but you seem to be enjoying yourself so far.
Yeah, you know, first year, delighted to be involved, and we've had some good sessions so far, trying to sort of improve all the time, and hopefully Team GB will give me a chance to take the race seat at some point.
You do have two pretty strong drivers in the team, but you've been consistently quick. You were second fastest yesterday. When will we see you driving in a race?
That's actually up to the seat holders themselves and probably John Surtees, but I'd like to think soon. You know, been doing a reasonable job so far. At this moment in time, you've got to keep pushing and doing the best I can.
Ollie, thanks very much. Well, another rookie who's been making a name for himself is Nico Hülkenberg. He obviously won the feature race in Zandvoort last weekend, but he's also been pretty quick round here as well. So have Team Lebanon. Graham Rahal was fastest this morning, so it's all up for grabs this afternoon. Back to you.
Lee, thanks very much indeed. From the younger drivers to a slightly older one, driving the Team Island car last time out at Zandvoort hasn't put John Watson off. He's back behind the wheel to take you through the twists and turns of the Automotodrome Brno.
The Brno Autodrome nestles in the countryside in the Moravian region of the Czech Republic. It's an absolutely beautiful setting. But what is it like as a racetrack? I've been joined by A1GP race winner Thomas Enger, and while we're discussing it, John Watson will be out there finding out for himself.
I'm 60 years of age, I should know better, shouldn't I?
Thomas, tell us first of all about turn one. You're heading across the start-finish line, 165 miles an hour or so. What's it like going into that first corner? What's the approach?
Well, after the start-finish straight, you obviously reach the maximum top speed at this track, which is 160 miles per hour. Then you shift down 2 gears, brake slightly, you know, into the corner, and then go 100 miles per hour to turn one.
Now, Thomas, he's coming into this left-hander. Do you need to keep it tight through this one, or is it better to go out wide and then cut back?
No, you actually keep it tight at the entry and then at the exit as well. So as short as possible line, the fastest it is.
So what do you reckon on John's performance so far? You know, not bad for an old boy, is it really?
I think John is doing very well. So far the line is pretty good, I would say. Turn 11, turn 12, left and right. You need to keep the car left as much as possible to have a good exit, to have good speed, because it's a very steep uphill acceleration before turn 12.
And do you reckon you're going to be using the power boost up on that section?
I believe that's one of the parts where you're going to use it.
So overtaking a possibility perhaps?
Before the last couple of corners, there will be a possibility for sure. So, John, what do you make of this place then?
Well, certainly it's a much different circuit to Zandvoort 1 week ago. It's a bigger circuit. It's a lot wider. I mean, it's the width of almost like a 4-lane M25. Because it's so wide, it'll give drivers options and choices as to how they want to approach an overtaking car or the corner itself.
So does he get the 2 thumbs up from John Watson?
gets 3 if I had them.
Those are thoughts then of John Watson. Let's get the thoughts back here in the studio of Darren and Tony. Darren, long, faster, straight into tight corners is what Nicolas Lapierre says, so plenty of overtaking on the cards, presumably.
Yeah, it should be those slow corners leading onto long straight. Should help the following car stay close without losing too much aerodynamics of the car, and hopefully be able to slipstream, maybe use the power boost up some of those steep hills as well to try and slip past. But you saw there, it's absolutely beautiful track there in the Czech Republic. You know, it's through the forest. It's a bit of a Spa-Francorchamps type of classic driver track.
Certainly a favourite to bike fans around the world. Tony, how do you think the A1 cars are going to respond to it?
Well, I think reasonably well. I mean, so far, and we've got good indications from the practice sessions, but it is a little bit amphitheatre-like. There's the Brands Hatch element of it, and the Spa element, as Darren said as well, which is great. It's got a very, very good flow at the circuit. I think one thing is if you go from very fast into very slow, and the width of the track, you've got good overtaking opportunities. And I think as we were watching Darren last weekend from the studio here, it was difficult for them to pass there. Very exacting track. Very, very different track in prospect here in Brno.
Is it one that demands ultimate commitment from a driver?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the fact that you're doing 1 minute 46s on new tyres, 1 minute 48s maybe on race pace. I mean, there's a lot of corners there and there's a lot of time to be made up. So it's actually quite surprising how close everybody's lap times are turning out to be in all the practice sessions. But longer the lap, the more concentration you need.
OK, thanks chaps for the moment. We're going to take a short break, on the other side of which there is qualifying from Brno, the beautiful city of which. That's next. Welcome back to Brno for the Czech Republic leg of the new A1GP season. Qualifying just about to get underway. The weather looks good. Let's take you trackside. John Watson and Ben Edwards.
Feature race winner last time out, Nico Hülkenberg for Team Germany, getting ready for qualifying here at Brno. He was out running this morning, we're reliably informed, something like 6:30 this morning. He came back from his jog to the hotel and he's taking this all very seriously.
And I like that. There's a young man who is committed to motorsport. He gets out, he does what he has to do, he has a training regime, and you'd think that many young drivers, there was a party last night for A1GP members, some of the young drivers, the rookie drivers, were out. Now, Nico Hülkenberg was a rookie driver on that Friday morning session as well, but of course he's the prime driver for the qualification as well as the race. But the fact that he was out running at 6:30, in fact returning to the hotel at 6:30, and I'll not say what other team members, not particularly in Germany's case, but you know, lots of people see motorsport as something that they do in their life, but there's commitment from a young man who has no doubt got a big career ahead of him.
Dennis Lian is driving the Singapore car for qualifying. It's the first time he's going to qualify this machine. It was Christian Murchison who had that duty last time out in Zandvoort, so it's a slight change around there. We thought that maybe Murchison would be qualifying, but it is going to be Dennis Lian. And Takis Kaitatsis driving for Team Greece here. He was the man that qualified for Greece last time out in Zandvoort as well and went on to do the 2 races. Michael Devaney for Team Ireland. Team Ireland desperate for a good solid result here today. They only qualified 15th on the grid for the sprint race, and he had a 15th place and a 14th place finish in the 2 races. Team USA, of course, were one of the big stars of the first event at Zandvoort. That drive on slick tyres in the rain going down in the record books.
Well, I think that drive will go down as probably the highlight drive of the season, and we're only at the second of 12 events. The magnitude and the courage that Phil Giebler displayed on a racetrack which, frankly, other drivers who were on wet weather tyres couldn't stay on track.
Robbie Kerr returns for Team Great Britain this weekend, and he's been bang on the pace throughout the weekend so far. Oliver Jarvis was very quick in the rookie session for Team GBR. Robbie Kerr set the pace in this morning session, only eclipsed by Team Lebanon when they went out on new tyres.
But Team GBR have had a problem. They've been blighted with a sticky throttle, so much so that they had to have an engine change overnight Friday night, and even so this morning with that fresh engine in the car, there's still a slight problem. Now the problem looks like it's going to be traced to the connection between the throttle throttle pedal and the engine. Hopefully they'll got that rectified. You do not want a sticky throttle anywhere around a lap.
Now, quick reminder, in each of these 4 qualifying segments, which lasts 15 minutes each, as you mentioned, with a 5-minute break in between, you only get one hot lap, one flying lap, and Pakistan is onto it already. You get your lap out of the pits to build up the heat in the tyres. You then do one flying lap. That's your only chance in that 15-minute session.
And of course you can choose the number of tyres that you may have. Some teams will have held back 3 new sets plus 1 used set. Other teams, and we saw that Lebanon and Italy this morning, they ran at the end of the session on a new set of tyres. So they'll be down to, you might say, 2.5 new sets plus 1 old used set. But let's watch as we see Nur Ali for Pakistan, who really is jumping in the deep end in A1GP, and there was a big struggle physically in Holland, a very physical racetrack for the opening round. Here it is still physical, but not at the level that drivers experienced in Zandvoort, and hoping to improve. And he did a 1:53.09 this morning on new tyres. I'm sure he'll find a couple of seconds.
Yes, he had a bit of an eventful time, didn't he, in Zandvoort, but it was off the back of a 48-hour stretch of no sleep to get to the track in time to drive this car. The 31-year-old finished 20th in the sprint race, had a rather dramatic spin into the pit lane in the feature race, which caused a safety car, and that really sort of was part of the topsy-turvy feature race that we did see, but nonetheless still managed to get through to the end, and now here he is qualifying for his second A1GP event in the Czech Republic.
Well, it comes out of the final turn 14. This is one of those corners. It's a long corner, but it opens up midway through, and it allows you to free the car up on the exit and let the car run right over the curbs. An opening lap of 1:54.174, not as quick as we saw this morning from Nur Ali, but he's got 3 more goes, and of which any one of those 2 can count as his aggregated grid time.
So it's A1 Team Greece next to finish off their hot lap, and these 2 teams are fairly close in performance, although I think this is going to be a fair bit quicker. Yeah, a 1:49.044. That's not a bad effort at all from Kaitazis, and I think they'll be relatively happy with that. Into the 49s, and Team Greece definitely ahead of Pakistan. Singapore likely to be down at that lower end of the grid as well.
And that's in fact a significant increase, almost by about 2 seconds on Greece's previous best over the sessions that they've been on track. So, that's just showing you the improvement within this new team from Greece. And they've got a variety of drivers to choose from. They seem to have a different driver almost in every session. Nevertheless, they've got a bit of stability, and that's a good run on the opening run of 1:49.044.
Next out, we see India. It's up to the teams to choose when to come out, by the way, in these sessions. Totally up to a team choice, team decision. Do you go out in the first part of the 15 minutes or the latter part? But whenever you come out, you still only get the 1 flying lap. India has decided to come out fairly early. It's Armin Ibrahim again, the 17-year-old, who had an up-and-down run at Zandvoort. Lebanon choosing to come out fairly early on in this particular session as well, with Graham Rahal driving for them this weekend. Didn't drive last week because he was at Father Bobby's wedding, but he is back this weekend for Team Lebanon.
We'll go back to Arman Ibrahim as he completes a lap, comes out of turn 4, and he goes not really wide, he runs right off. Now that, I don't know why he did that. There was no need to let the car run that far. Again, we saw something very similar as he goes on now. This is the beginning of his lap, and that will have lost him maybe up to half a second, if not more. We saw Salvador Duran do something very similar in Friday's first official practice session. Let's look again. He looks like he just about made his apex, but he then just frees the car up. There's no oversteer coming. He just simply drives off racetrack.
Yeah.
Is that a lack of concentration, or just simply being a little bit careless?
Difficult to see exactly what that was about, but you've got to be careful. That corner there, turn 4, we saw Salvador Duran do something similar yesterday and ended up hitting the barrier on the inside when the car flicked sideways on him. So Ibrahim needs to be careful. He's on a slowdown lap now, though. Remember, he's that was going on to his hot lap. That was going on to his hot lap.
That was the beginning of the lap, so he lost, I say, up to half a second, maybe even a little bit more. So he now drops down. These are coming down to the stadium section of the racetrack, going into turn 8. These slower turns 8 and 9 are slower than the similar corners further back up the circuit, turns 3 and 4. Again, this is the second part of the racetrack where now you can see the decline as he runs down towards turn 10, braking downhill. You're turning into the corner, just getting off the brakes, picking up the throttle again. The corner opens up and allows you, encourages you to get onto the power again. Now keep it tight here on the exit of this turn 11, then through 12. Maximize your acceleration up the hill, and then up to the final 2 turns before the completion of your lap.
There's an elevation change of some 240 feet, 73 metres, and a lot of it is on that last section all in one go, because you go right from the lowest point to here, the highest point of the track, and it's a very steep climb that doesn't really come across perhaps on screen as effectively as it does when you're out there. Good lap though, despite that big off, only 2 thousandths of a second slower than Greece, but then you would expect India to perhaps be a bit quicker than that.
Well, India would have been quicker than that, clearly, had Ibrahim not gone off track as he started the beginning of his lap, and I think certainly half a second minimum was the time lost.
So we're watching Lebanon now. Graham Rahal, who's been racing in the Atlantic Series in the United States and very nearly won the championship, came close to it, ended up finishing runner-up. So it's been a very solid, strong season for Graham Rahal away from A1GP. Remember, he did join this Lebanon team towards the end of the first season of A1, was very impressive as well. But as it stands, Lebanon are yet to score their first points, and surely they are going to get them soon, courtesy of Graham Rahal. First of all, he's got to qualify the car.
Well, he looks like he's certainly on track, and watching him coming down through turn 7, that's that off-camber downhill left-hand turn. He was following the line that our tutor Thomas Enger was recommending, and that's keep it in pretty tight. Don't try and make the conventional line where you go wide, cut across, make an apex. And that particular corner, it pays dividends to hug the curb all the way around. And again, Graham Rahal, of course, with the heritage he has with his father Bobby, then you've got to think that this is a young man who, again, like many others in A1GP, has got a lot of potential.
Few other cars out there at the moment. Netherlands and the United States are also on track, going quickly. Let's see what the time is then for Lebanon. This should be quite representative. It's a 1:48.882. He takes the provisional pole position.
Now that may not have been a run on new tyres, because we know that the Lebanese team ran a new set at the end of their session this morning. Nevertheless, it's quick enough to take it away from Greece, and it just shows that Greece have made significant inroads into getting to competitive and just getting to know this track.
But USA's on a better lap here by the looks of things. It is Philip Giebler driving once again, the star on the slicks in the wet of Zandvoort. Let's see how he does here. He qualified pretty well at Zandvoort, really flicks it into that final corner. He was 6th on the grid and last time out in the Netherlands, and this puts him fastest in the early stages of qualifying here.
And if my memory serves me correctly, that is the single fastest lap that we have seen of the weekend. So look, Team USA continuing the momentum that they started in Zandvoort. That stunning drive from Phil Giebler. Here we go to Canada, and a surprise in the cockpit. I thought we were going to see Sean McIntosh in all weekend, but in fact it's the rookie driver, James Hinchcliffe.
Yep, James Hinchcliffe got the nod after an impressive run in the rookie session on Friday early afternoon. Sean McIntosh drove the car late afternoon. The team made the call to put James Hinchcliffe in the car for qualifying and for the races. Impressed by his pace. Well, he's gone 3rd quickest initially here. USA fastest, the Netherlands, Jeroen Bleekemolen 2nd, Canada 3rd, Lebanon 4th, Greece 5th, then India and Pakistan. Only 7 of the 23 nations have so far put in a qualifying performance.
As we go now to one of the stars, Nico Hülkenberg. Now let's see what this young German can do. He's been impressive all weekend, and he takes it extremely seriously. We mentioned that earlier.
He's already up at the first split too, John. 4/10 of a second up at the first split. Hülkenberg is on a mission here.
Yes, but he's got traffic ahead of him, and whether that traffic is an out lap or an in lap, we are not quite clear. It's a white car. Let's see if he can get through. It's Switzerland, and I think Switzerland's on an out lap. Certainly lets him get through, but a margin of time lost because his entry into turn 8 then into 9 will have been compromised by the Swiss car just happening to be in the part of racetrack at the critical moment of entry to a corner.
These two were racing together in Formula BMW in Germany a couple of years ago. He's up by 3/10 at the second checkpoint. Germany's Nico Hülkenberg. He was a star at Zandvoort, burst onto the scene with the win in the feature race, and now he looks very rapid here again. Watch him on this uphill section. It's steep up here. It doesn't look it, but it is. And this is coming onto what the bikers call Horsepower Hill.
Well, certainly got the line through the left-hand turn 10 correct, or turn 11. Now uphill into this final turn 13 and 14. You can brake very late coming in here inside the 100 metres. Pick up the throttle. It should be flat and 4th through turn 14. On a start, finish straight. Stay off that dirt on the outside of the corner, and a 45.917 pole position in this first run. Of course, we've got 4 to go. Nevertheless, the first driver to clip into the 1 minute 45s, and yet again
New Zealand's just eclipsed it though. New Zealand's just done a 1:45.6. Johnny Reid, who's raced here in the past but he didn't race at Zandvoort last week, has put in a great effort for Team New Zealand.
A great effort indeed. And just simply as we're eulogising about Germany, Johnny Reid goes and eclipses it, and he's gone quicker by 0.3 of a second.
So Team New Zealand on top at the moment, Germany second, USA third, then the Netherlands fourth, followed by Canada, Lebanon, Greece, India and Pakistan. You're watching China as Frankie Cheng is on his first hot lap of the 4 that they'll put together in these 4 segments. Remember, they have to add 2 of them together to give them an overall time for the grid. He goes 6th quickest, 47.5. Ireland's just got in behind them into 7th place.
Yes, that's Ireland's best lap of the weekend by some incredible margin. They've been really struggling to get car balance sorted out as we go back to Ananda Mikkola for Indonesia. And Ananda Mikkola, of course, was one of the drivers that got involved in Tarzan hairpin, and he was fined and told to be a better behaved boy in future. Nevertheless, racing drivers get out there and put the helmet on, flick the brain off. So let's see what happens for Ananda Mikkola on this run. It's 6th quickest, so Indonesia goes 6th between Canada and China.
So not a bad run for Team Indonesia to start off these qualifying runs. We've still got 1 minute 40 seconds, but with a number of countries just making their way out onto the circuit now. And on hot laps, we've got Switzerland, Mexico and South Africa. And just out on the circuit, we've got France. There's Team France, just onto the hot lap, in fact. Behind them, Malaysia, Brazil, the Czech Republic, and of course, Great Britain also on circuit.
Just you could see the bumps through turn 1, the back of the France car. You could see that vertical movement, but what was very impressive, it didn't deflect the car. Those bumps, ordinarily cars would be moving around, but France have got something. They were the dominant nation in the first series of A1GP, and still they've got that advantage. It's been reduced, but Nicolas Lapierre driving for the 2nd weekend in succession, and France, very, very difficult combination to see anybody getting on top of.
The advantage Nicolas Lapierre has here as well is that he raced here in Formula 3 a couple of years ago, whereas a lot of the drivers have no experience of this Brno circuit. It's not used quite so commonly in some of the other championships that they've come through. So Lapierre has a potential advantage here. Team France is always strong. It's Jean-Paul Driot's birthday as well, so for Team France and their team boss, it would be great to snatch pole position, but he's still got to do it, and there's some big rivalry here this year. There's no doubt about it. The competition has caught France to a certain extent.
It does. Look, just under 43 hundredths of a second under the time of New Zealand. Now that's a close call, but it'll be out of turn 10. 2 cars ahead of France. They'll be making their way back in to complete their laps. Lock up on the brakes, just that little whiff of smoke going into 11, then cuts across, goes through 12, lets the car run out to the side of the track, doesn't kick up the dust on the side. But of course Indonesia ahead and Italy, they'll be both coming into the pits, and France will not want particularly Indonesia to come into play as he completes his lap.
Absolutely right. Let's just see if this is enough for France to snatch fast. Close across the line goes Team France. It's not enough. They go 3rd. New Zealand, Germany, France, USA and Mexico. But Great Britain still on a lap, but it's not a particularly quick lap. They may well be on old tyres because not very quick at the checkpoints at the moment.
And I suspect France could claim, and not unfairly, that those 2 cars, in particular Indonesia, and in fairness to Indonesia, Ananda Mikkola pulled right over to the left of the track and let France go through. Did not really in any sense impede him, but the driver's perception of whether he was impeded is a different matter.
Home nation Czech Republic then. This is Thomas Enger at the 2nd checkpoint. He was 0.8 of a second down on the fastest lap that we've seen so far. So don't think this one's going to challenge New Zealand's provisional pole position. But there's still 3 more sessions after this one, and which tyres, which new tyres you use and in which qualifying segment is absolutely crucial. So that may be Team Czech Republic using an older set of tyres here to establish a benchmark. I would have guessed so, because they're only 12th quickest.
Yes, and you have to imagine those are the tyres that are on board as we go back to Team GBR, pretty much the last car on the circuit. So climbs up to turn 13. Robbie Kerr back behind the wheels for Great Britain. And Robbie Kerr will want to get something solid, though. He still has got 3 runs to go, and if it isn't particularly quick, well, then he has 3 new sets of tyres.
Yeah, I think that was another old tyre run. He was not bothered there.
No, he's not. He's just getting a sighting lap
yep.
of the circuit. So Robbie Kerr and Team GB are just going through, if you like, a perfunctory run and just reacquainting themselves. Circuits do change, and in particular when you've got supporting events taking place and running on different make of tyre, plus that demonstration that we saw of some 250 production cars, and goodness knows who were driving those. So track conditions are different.
So New Zealand take the initial edge here with a quick lap time in the first qualifying segment. Germany second. Malaysia popped up to third there. So Malaysia actually eclipsed Team France. That's an impressive run from Alex Young. There you are then. Confirmation of those performances. New Zealand on top. Germany, Malaysia, France. Then USA, Mexico, Salvador Duran. Watch him because he's always quick. Then the Netherlands, Switzerland, Canada and Brazil. Good effort that from Tuka Rocha to put the Brazilian car up inside the top 10. South Africa with Steven Simpson driving for the team this weekend as opposed to Adrian Zaug, who took the win in the sprint race last time out. He has gone 11th quickest. Then the Czech Republic, Indonesia, China, Ireland, Italy, Lebanon down in 17th place. Then Greece, India, Australia. Great Britain didn't seem to be too bothered about that. They're 21st and they're followed by both Singapore and Pakistan.
Bit of a tool, but it was actually...
The Autodromo Brno, the venue for A1GP this weekend. Qualifying session 1 has seen Team New Zealand and Johnny Reid impress most. Let's head back to our commentary team of John Watson and Ben Edwards for session 2 and see what Robbie can manage this time round.
Yeah, my end of the pit lane with basically the big story is Team Malaysia. Had a lot of problems with setup yesterday. Changed that. The car is now clearly working a lot better. Alex Young looks very calm and contented, sort of sauntered into the car. And other than that, Frankie Cheng again looked very happy with the run that he did, so I think we may see an improvement from those guys even further.
Okay, thank you very much, Simon, and we're getting ready now for the second qualifying segment. Green flag already has opened up the second qualifying segment here at the Brno Autodrome. We've seen New Zealand fastest in the first segment, but remember they have to add together 2 times out of the 4 segments to establish their grid position for the sprint race, so plenty of work still to do out there.
And there's the helicopter shot of the racetrack and the village behind, and you get an idea of that turn one it is, a 180-degree corner. It's a long corner and quite a quick entry into the corner, but it are those bumps that can destabilize a car. We saw on the shot of France where their car looks to have really good control at the back of the car, and you cannot emphasize enough the need to have a secure car. If you've got a very nervous, twitchy car, and we've seen that over sometimes in the first series, and we also saw it on Zandvoort, it can make it very difficult indeed for a driver to get that, particularly in a long corner, that continuous progressive exit speed that you need.
Inside the Brazilian pit, the little final tweaks and changes being made to the car to try and improve on their current 10th position. Tuka Rocha has raced here in the past. He's one of those who have had experience. He's raced in the European Formula 3000 Championship here, so that's given him a little bit of an eye into the particular demands of this track. And certainly there are some tricky bits, how much you compromise the first part of some of these S-bends so that you really get a clean exit out of the second part, and learning the precise line and how much compromise to make. That is a key part of being fast here. Out on the circuit already, we've got China and we've got Pakistan, and actually Australia's also just gone out on circuit, and they tend to be all teams that didn't perform particularly well in the first one, except for China. They were in 14th. I'm interested to see that China have gone out this early in this session.
Well, I think the reason for doing it is because with everybody hanging back until the last sort of few moments before the session concludes, you're going to get a very busy racetrack, and if you can go out now, and if Frankie Cheng's confidence is relatively high, as we know it is, then take the opportunity, and if the track is going to improve over these remaining 12 and a half minutes, it's only going to be by about a fraction of a second, so take the opportunity, clear track, get your run in and sit back and see where you are.
Now the clock that's running in the top left hand corner of the screen has started from where he left off lap number 1, because you've got to add the 2 laps together, remember. So he did a 1:47.559 on his first lap. That's where the clock started for this second lap.
So it drops downhill all the way down into this first of these downhill corners, braking. It's quite steep here. You look at it on the camera, you don't get any impression of the drop. It's a 2-part turn 5, we call this 6, then the left hand 7, and you want to get the car in early. You could see that Frankie Cheng for China has done that. Not every driver follows that example, but that to us is the quickest way around that turn.
He's driven a McLaren Formula 1 car here in the past in a brief demonstration. He's never actually raced here, but to drive a Formula 1 car around here must have been pretty special.
I think his eyes may have watered that experience.
But here he is now in an A1GP car, heading down towards the lowest point of the track. This is a fun corner, turn number 10. Now he really does reach the bottom. Now he begins the big climb up the hill.
And just where that bit of Armco barrier ends is the point where you can really start to bury your foot in the throttle, get the meat of the engine really working for you. And of course, now as you start this uphill climb coming out of turn 12, this is a very steep incline running all the way up to turn 13. Late brake, get the car settled. You don't need to be too committed in turn 13, but where you have to be is in 14. So get the car back to the left-hand side of the track and then drive through turn 14, flat in 4th gear, cross start finish line.
Now he goes fastest because he's the first driver to complete 2 laps, which are then added together to give him his combined time. But it now depends what everyone else is doing behind him. Pakistan has put in a much better lap than they did first run. They've done a 1:51, so they've gone second. Australia, and it's Carl Reindler, who's been racing in British F3 the last couple of years. He's got the duties this weekend.
And he's certainly wrung the neck of it, the Team Australia car coming through turn 14. So Australia goes second with their best lap of 1:49.097. Interestingly, China also improved slightly by about 0.2 of a second as we now look at Greece. And that's again what happens if you're not careful on your exits. You run over the curb. Of course, the curb not the same level of grip as tarmac, and it's quite easy to do. We've seen Greece do it there. Now we've seen other drivers. Duran did it, and Aman Ibrahim did it also at the beginning of his lap in that first qualifying run.
Yeah, and of course the problem is the tyres are dirty for the next corner, that downhill right-hander. So he seems to have sorted it out pretty well, Kaitatsis, and let's see whether he's going to be able to put together a second lap that's reasonable. We know that he improved hugely on his first flying lap from what they've been doing in practice, so there is improvement still coming for A1 Team Greece here. It's so much the early stages of their campaign. Oh, he gets the back end out there into the final corner, get the foot down right over the curb. Let's see where this brings him across the line. It puts him ahead of Australia and keeps him ahead of Pakistan.
But this lap for Greece, half a second down on the run that he had on his first outing. So Greece will maybe discount qualifying 2. At the moment, we don't know what they'll do in qualifying 3 or 4, but currently they might look at second run and say, well, that one we'll discount.
Interesting to notice, we're watching Singapore at the moment, but France has gone out much earlier in this session. Whether they've gone out on an old set of tyres perhaps, but France have decided to go out really quite early for one of the front runners. Now Dennis Lian here driving for Team Singapore, another new team of course into A1GP. Now he goes 4th fastest, that's ahead of Pakistan, and again well, he's a bit slower on this lap, so that might have been on an older set of tyres.
I suspect that's the tyres that he ran on the first one, but look at France. They had traffic come into play at the end of the lap. Again, the choice of going out a little bit earlier than waiting till the tail of the session is geared, I think, to give him a clear lap.
Apparently he's gone out on old tyres, so that would explain things a little bit. They're using this, you can see the car sliding more now, and Team France have gone out in this segment of qualifying on an old set, and what that means is we know then they'll have new tyres for segments 3 and 4.
And when we explain about new tyres and old tyres, the tyres that are on this car were the tyres that he used for his first run. He did an out lap, a flying lap and an in lap. The best of any tyre in any race series will always be on the first flying lap. Thereafter the tyre starts to drop off its peak performance, then gets out of a plateau of stability. There's still performance in the tyre for Nicolas Lapierre and Team France, but it just doesn't have that peak of performance it would have had in qualifying 1.
So he knows that it's unlikely he's going to put in a real quick lap here because the best of the tyre's been taken, but it's still important to get out there, get a feel for the car, so that in the next 2 qualifying segments he can really get on with the program as quickly as possible. So let's just see, this should put him fastest for now, yep, by 1.5 seconds over China, so his combined time, but his individual lap time, they're about a second slower, so that gives you an idea of the difference between a brand new set of tyres and a scrub set.
Yes, and that's a set of tyres that will have completed in total 5 laps. So he's 1 more lap to do before he comes in to complete the second run, but only 2 flying laps and 2 out laps and ultimately 2 in laps. So there's the indication. It's so critical that you get that clear lap, because you only get 1 bite of the cherry every time you go out for a qualifying session.
So Team Czech Republic staying in the pits for the moment. Lebanon though on circuit, and let's see whether Graham Rahal is going to be able to improve on position. He ended up in that first session in 17th position, but we do know that they used a new set of tyres this morning. It may be that they're going to keep their 2 new sets for segments 3 and 4 of qualifying, keeping their powder dry perhaps.
Yes, and I think looked reasonably good coming through turn 1. The back of the car, you could see the vertical movement, but the attitude of the car in the corner would be such that it had given Graham Rahal the confidence to push the throttle to get the drive off. It's a long corner. It's the longest corner on the circuit. It's about equal to the quickest turn 14, we think, maybe marginally quicker. It's a shorter corner. The exit of turn 1, of course, would be a lot quicker, but the middle point of the corner, there's not much difference between 14 and turn 1.
Well, maybe he's actually put new tyres on here, because he's only 0.3 of a second down at the first split on the fastest lap of the day that was set by New Zealand, of course, in that first session. So this is a pretty quick lap. It won't put him particularly high up on the combined times, because his first flying lap in that first segment wasn't particularly fast, but it's this sort of thing you've got to keep an eye on, because teams will put in one flying lap perhaps early on in the 4 segments, and they don't look as though they're performing very well. Then they suddenly bang in another quick one in the 4th segment, and they appear at the top of the chart.
In the meantime, Canada's gone 3rd quickest. Second run from Canada, again approximately 1.5 seconds down. So indications are on many teams, as we found from the pit lane report, on new tyres for the first qualifying segment. Second one running those same tyres, and that accounts for the drop off in lap times.
So Lebanon coming up towards the end of the lap here, and we'll see where this puts them in the overall standings. France currently quickest, as you say. China second, Canada third, Greece, Australia. Where's this going to put Lebanon? Somewhere in there. It's not going to be putting them fastest. It puts them 4th for now. Individual time of a 1:46.8. Not bad, but that's just over a second off the fastest of the day so far.
Yeah, but that's actually 2 seconds exactly quicker than his first run. So that's a strong run for Graham Rahal. He's into territory. Those 2 seconds that he shaved off his first run, and the best that he did this morning was a 48. Suddenly the car takes on a different personality and character. 2 seconds in time, but it's a little more than the blink of an eye. On a racetrack, it's like eternity.
So Czech Republic heading out onto the circuit. Looks as though those tyres may already be scrubbed. A bit difficult to tell from that angle.
Yeah, just look at the sidewall of the tyre, particularly in that right rear. You can see where the rubber has been just picking up as we watch. I think that's Lebanon coming offline, letting Mexico go through. Salvador Duran, a strong runner we saw back 1 week ago in Zandvoort, and Salvador Duran is somebody who we'd expect to see challenging, but not that. Into turn 7, car ran very wide indeed, the middle of the corner, understeering. Again, taking the line, which I think is not the line for that particular corner, but who am I?
Who are you, John? You're the man who drove round yesterday.
I'm the man who drove round yesterday, but the key, and we've seen it from particularly Nico Hülkenberg and 1 or 2 others who have been very quick in an overall lap, that they're hugging that turn 7 all the way around. They're not letting the car run wide on the entry. Keep it tight all the way around and to get the drive off the corner. That's the key to that particular turn.
So Mexico then seeing where they can become. They were 6th after the first qualifying segment. Currently it's France on top, but we've still got just under 4 minutes to go in this session, and we're yet to see some of the pace setters from that early session like New Zealand and Germany come back out again.
So up to turn 13, Salvador Duran turns in, keeps the car in the middle of the road, then makes it more smooth transition. We've seen some cars, particularly we saw Australia and a couple of others, being more aggressive in that transition from left to right, but Salvador Duran goes through, goes up to 2nd place. His lap is 0.9 of a second down than his first run, which again we know was on new tyres, because that's what Salvador prefers. So 0.9 of a second in the ballpark for a second run on a set of tyres that has already completed 1 run.
Hey, guess who's just put a first fastest sector in? Italy. Italy has just put in a very quick first sector, although New Zealand has just gone even quicker through the first sector, so keep an eye out for New Zealand as well. But Italy, who didn't really shine in the first segment of qualifying, they were 16th. Maybe they were on old tyres. I would think that Alessandro Pierre Guidi's now on a new set of tyres, and he's showing some more pace, certainly in the early part of the lap.
Yeah, and we watched the Italian car on Friday, and it looked frankly diabolical on parts of the racetrack. They've done a good job to get that car look a lot more stable, as we see Germany just go through ahead of Italy. Italy coming up to complete the lap. Look at the amount of work in the steering wheel. That car is benefiting from the grip from the new tyre, but the basic balance of the car, I have to say, could be improved substantially.
He moves up to 6th, the lap time of 1:47.2, so not as quick as his initial splits indicated, but this is the car to watch. It was fastest after the first qualifying segment. The Black Beauty of Team New Zealand, with Johnny Reid at the wheel, is definitely up on this lap as well. He's up on the aggregates anyway. He's not up on the individual lap speed, but he still should go fastest overall.
But of course, running behind Indonesia, and again, a car that close to you does affect the driver's assessment of what he's going to do. Where will that car be in the racetrack? I don't want it to interfere with my lap.
Cross the line, and New Zealand goes quickest, and that's a good lap. It's a 46.8, so about a second off, so that must have been on a scrubbed set of tyres, and the battle will truly commence in segment 3.
Thomas Enger and the Czech Republic drops downhill into turn 5, which then, in fact, down in turn 10. This is at the lowest part of the circuit. Thomas Enger hasn't really given us the indication that the Czech Republic have got to terms with the setup of this car, but track knowledge and understanding of how to be quick here, certainly in the hands of this man, there's nobody better qualified.
I don't think he's pushing that hard though here, John. We saw that the car was on scrubbed tyres when he went out. I think he's saving it all up for the final 2 segments of qualifying, and that's where we're going to see Thomas Enger, the Czech Republic, really go on the attack. This isn't going to be a particularly fast lap. Let's see where it puts them. Just the combined times up to 7th place with a 1:48.1. They're saving it all for the last 2 segments. They better hope it doesn't rain.
But here's the young man, really. He and Johnny Reid so far have been outstanding. Nico Hülkenberg for Germany, the man who goes out running at 6 o'clock in the morning and comes back at 6:30. Comes across start-finish line, and Germany 1:47.398 keeps them in 3rd place behind France. And there we see the Team New Zealand. And that's in fact Team Germany. The New Zealand colours are not dissimilar with black all over that car.
No, that's right. Although David Sears looking after the engineering for both cars there for Team Germany and for Team New Zealand. There's Brazil. They were 10th after the first segment of qualifying. See where Tuka Rocha puts them this time. This isn't a particularly quick lap again from looking at the splits, but nonetheless it should keep him in that sort of top 10 kind of area, I would think. Switzerland's another one to keep an eye on, but again they're not going particularly quickly, and I would say that most teams have not had new tyres for this second segment. Most of them are saving them for segments 3 and 4, and that's where we're going to see some really rapid times being set.
Now what we will have to keep an eye on is Team GBR. They've dropped down to the bottom of the timing list, and that's because we're still waiting to see Robbie Kerr come out on track. They traditionally come out at the last moment of a session. They hope that the track will be clear. They believe that the track should be in its best condition. So Robbie Kerr will have his first run this afternoon on a set of new, fresh Cooper tyres. And he hopes that will be the beginning of his march forward to getting a provisional, if not a confirmed pole position.
So Brazil ends up their 8th place, but we're on board with Malaysia. Malaysia, of course, made a big improvement towards the end of the first segment. This puts them 4th, so it's a good improvement for Team Malaysia. Alex Young has found some good performance now, but what about Great Britain? Because as you said, John, it looks as though they may have saved some tyres, although he was very fast on the first split. He was actually the fastest man to the first split of anybody, but now he's lost a bit. He's about half a second down on New Zealand's quick time from that first session.
And New Zealand have been extremely impressive, both on first and second runs. So the real commitment needed here from Robbie Kerr from Team GBR to get that car into a position to take advantage of the new tyre that when they go into the 3rd and final qualifying segments. And Team GBR, well, it's in 17th place. That's not because he is slow, it's because his first run was little more than a sighting lap. Did this lap a 1:46.836. Well, that's quite a long way away from the fastest single lap that New Zealand, or for that matter France, did, or Germany, who are all in the 46.6 for New Zealand and 45.6 and 45.9 for Germany. So New Zealand and Germany really looking very, very competitive.
So New Zealand fastest after 2 segments of qualifying. France 2nd, then Germany 3rd. USA 4th. Malaysia good, strong 5th place. Then Mexico 6th. The Netherlands, Jeroen Bleekemolen, the hero from Zandvoort, up to 7th. China 8th. Switzerland in 9th place. And Brazil, as I said, just holding on to their top 10 position. Canada then just outside that in 11th place. Home nation Czech Republic is in 12th. Italy 13th. South Africa 14th. Then Lebanon, Indonesia, Great Britain, then Ireland, India, Greece, Australia, then it's Singapore and Pakistan.
A1GP Czech Republic off and running, 2 sessions into qualifying from Bruno, and Team New Zealand and Johnny Reid still leading the way. Robbie Kerr with it all to do at the moment. Session 3 just about to get started. Let's rejoin our commentators John Watson and Ben Edwards.
Team GBR's Robbie Kerr rolls into pit lane after a rather late run in that second segment, but in plenty of time. We're about to see the start of the third segment of qualifying here at Brno in the Czech Republic. At the moment, it's all New Zealand who have set the pace in the first session in particular. They were rapid in the second session as well. They topped the times by 3/4 of a second from France, from Germany and from the United States. But as ever, it looks like the first car out on track in this third segment is going to be Pakistan.
Yes, and I think that's quite sensible. Let Noor Ali get out on the racetrack and have a clear racetrack. Focus simply on doing a qualifying lap, and hopefully by the time his lap is complete, he will be able to pull off track. He won't have too many other cars around him. A lot of pressure here for somebody coming into such a different format, particularly with the pressure of these 4 qualifying sessions. It is pressure in the pit lane, it is pressure on the racetrack. So give your driver the best opportunity and don't put him under unnecessary pressure, particularly when you can go out early on a clear track.
And that's exactly the philosophy being followed by these two teams as well, both inexperienced teams, Greece and Singapore. So they're sending their guys out early. Australia also pretty early on track as well. As I mentioned before, it's Carl Reindler who's driving for them.
Well, in the meantime, has anybody told these corner workers there are cars on the racetrack? Clearly there's been a bit of gravel kicked up and they're just cleaning out the runoff area. As you can see, those curbing, they're very, very shallow curves. They're almost non-existent in terms of motor racing, whereas of course this circuit familiar with motorcycle racing, and motorcycles do not like steep curbing, so a compromise has had to be reached, and the benefit is that cars can use that. Gives them extra track turning into a corner. It gives them extra track of course on the exit of a corner.
Indonesia on circuit as well now, and we heard that they used the new tyres last time, so Indonesia got a 48.8 second lap last time around. They'll be looking to improve on that. Team Canada meanwhile, James Hinchcliffe at the wheel, bit of suspension adjustment going on there. Great view onto the front suspension, the dampers, the coil springs, little areas you can change.
Not necessarily a great thing to see from a team that they're already into making suspension changes to a car. You know, this is what the practices is all about, to give you that opportunity. Of course, the track has changed. The track will get better the more the cars run on them. So that maybe is an indication that for Team Canada and James Hinchcliffe, less experienced than Sean McIntosh, who we expected to be in this car all weekend, but the job that James Hinchcliffe did on Friday was sufficient to convince Team Canada he's the man to put in the car for Saturday and qualifying and obviously for the race.
Team USA off the back of that excellent podium performance last time out in Zandvoort, qualifying so far in a strong 4th position. That's a good effort, Philip Giebler. They have qualified second in the past in the first season of A1. That was courtesy of Scott Speed who was driving then, but Giebler certainly seems to be into a very confident frame of mind. Now, going on to his hot lap is Takis Kaitatsis for Team Greece. And let's ride on board and look at the telemetry. You've got the gears being shown, you've got the revs as well. We'll try and pop that back up for you. Through turn 1 first of all.
Now watch the back of the car. You see the bouncing in the back of Greece? Well, there's the result of it. He nearly lost control of the rear of the car. Now that's, I think, a combination of spring and damping control. And clearly Team Greece have not got on top of that particular aspect of the car setup. The consequence was on maybe new tyres. We're not sure whether they were new or used, but that ratcheting effect that you see at the rear of a car will make the back unstable. Again, the onboard shot, you see the hands moving right from across the steering wheel almost 90 degrees to where it should be, and this is not an easy ride right now for Team Greece.
Third gear is the predominant gear through most of these corners. Sometimes you'll see them pop it back down into second gear, but he stays in third here through turn 7. The long left-hander on the infield, the little stadium section, back up to 4th, and then back down to third gear again for the left and right that follows.
And when you've got a car where the back is unpredictable and it's moving around, it generally prevents the driver from making the commitment that he has to, particularly in a qualifying session. You've got to give inexperienced drivers, above all, security of a car, that when they turn in and they get on the throttle, that the back end stays planted to the racetrack. It doesn't hop, skip and jump all over the place. And that's what we've seen.
Don't forget, these cars all powered by a 550 brake horsepower 3.4 litre V8 engine. The A1 engine developed by Zytec, and this was the moment he had out of the first bend.
Did well to keep the car on track because it had to step pretty much out to the right, out to the left of the driver, and came close to clipping the gravel on the outside of the corner. We did see Ireland in the rookie session. Their car went off in that corner, and a spin was the reason for that, and that was very lucky that Greece didn't follow suit.
So 20th position for Team Greece, but that is his quickest lap of the 3 qualifying segments to date. So he's still going faster and faster, and it's what the team wants to see. They want to see that gradual improvement. Here's a somewhat more experienced competitor, Ananda Mikula, driving for Indonesia, and this weekend, in fact, he'll become the most experienced competitor in A1 racing terms, because at the moment he's on 22 races contested, the same number as Jos Verstappen, but when we get into the sprint race this weekend, he'll have raced in more than anybody else in the series.
So Indonesia come up across the start-finish line, and let's see, well, he's gone, and that's a 1:47.1. That's, in fact, by 0.2 of a second, his quickest lap over the 3 sessions. So a 1:47.1. So that's a fair run of laps, with 2 laps in the 1 minute 47s, and the 1:48.8. Well, he can discard that now. That lap was on a used set of tyres.
So USA are still waiting for them to come out, still waiting for a number of other cars to come out on track. They're all waiting for the clock to tick away. Just over 9 minutes to go in this session. France are getting ready. Look at those nice new tyres. Now that's what everybody wants to have on their car and get the 1 flying lap on.
Now this is a 1 flying lap, but of course you've got an out lap. This is a long out lap, 3.36 miles. The judgment a driver's got to make is, how hard do I push in that out lap? Because the average racetrack that we're going to visit throughout the season is probably going to be in the region of 2.5 miles. So if you add on a further 0.8 of a mile to that out lap, you've almost in effect taken almost half a lap's worth of grip, that premium grip that you've got with a new set of tyres. So maybe it's important to take it easy for the first part of your out lap. But in doing so, then you lose tyre temperature and consequently tyre pressure. So these are all the issues a driver has to deal with when they go out on that out lap, particularly with a lap of the length of 3.36 miles.
So what can Team New Zealand do? Can they hold on to their top spot at the moment? Johnny Reid is driving brilliantly in this qualifying session so far. He's got the outright fastest individual lap from anybody, and that looked like a good exit to go on to his next hot lap.
That was a committed exit, and it comes from confidence. New Zealand and Germany appear to have the fastest cars. And again, taking an interesting line round that turn 1, we know that the normal line for that corner, you have to run over a series of ripples which destabilise a car. It looked like Johnny Reid in the New Zealand car was running slightly further out to the left to try and avoid it. Not the natural line you would expect, but if you can get the grip out there and you can avoid the bumps, you can get on the power that bit earlier and therefore be that bit quicker.
So this is looking pretty strong for Johnny Reid for Team New Zealand. He was in the 1 minute 45s in the first qualifying segment, something like that again, and it will put him very much, or keep him at the top of the standings. That's where he is at the moment. You know, New Zealand have yet to achieve a pole position in A1GP. Best qualifying performance they've had is a front row. They've been second on the grid, but they've never had a pole position.
Neither have they ever had a victory, and that's something they sorely want, particularly with the anticipation of going down to New Zealand the first round after the Christmas break, and they would love to go there as a winner of an A1GP.
So it is Johnny Reid, the 22-year-old from Auckland, who's got this big chance. As Lee was telling us earlier, he is absolutely determined to take advantage of the fact that Matt Halliday is off racing at Bathurst this weekend to show the Team New Zealand what he can do when he has the opportunity. He competed in 2 meetings at last year's championship. So let's just see whether he can put that into good use. He was in Germany, he was also in Portugal, and now after a long break in A1 terms, here he is in the Czech Republic.
And this is the vital, a little bit of oversteer just as he turned into final turn 14, but nothing that was going to worry Johnny Reid. Comes across start-finish line, a 1:45.040, and that by over 0.6 of a second seals his fastest lap so far as Chris Corn engineering side of the Team New Zealand entry, and he must be pleased with that. Can we see a lap? Is it possible we could see something in the low, the 1:44, the high 44s? We've now got the low 1:45, and that's really thrown a challenge down to Nicolas Lapierre and Team France, who've enjoyed so many pole positions, but be it in the sprint race or in the feature race. That situation changing, of course, for this year.
So a brilliant lap by Team New Zealand, a 1:45.040, and can anybody get close to that? And it didn't even look that sort of dramatic. It was smooth, it was controlled, it was a beautiful lap by Johnny Reid for New Zealand. Now, what's been going on here? This was a moment ago. No, it was France, was it?
Yes, indeed. Well, that for Nicolas Lapierre he might as well just come back in, because to try and challenge France with a lap, I mean, he's going to lose. His best lap was a 46.0. He needs to find over a second to put himself back into the frame. on this lap, I mean, he will continue it, but he will be very, very disappointed indeed to have the back of the car break away so unexpectedly, because France is one of those nations whose car looks always to be glued to a racetrack.
Yeah, a 1:47.6, that's his slowest lap of the 3 segments so far, and that would have been on new tyres.
And if there's been pressure on France so far in the final qualifying session, which will be starting in some 8.5 minutes, there will be huge pressure on Nicolas Lapierre to regain. He's lost 2 qualifying sessions. He's only got 1 hot lap so far in qualifying 1.
Team Germany on track at the moment, and we'll be keeping an eye on their progress as well, of course, to see if they're going to move up.
Well, this ought to, assuming his lap is a clean lap, we're only just catching the second half of the lap, but assuming Nico Hülkenberg has had a clean opening part of the lap, he could find himself sharing the provisional pole position alongside the sister car of New Zealand.
Yeah, he's up on this. Well, he's not up on the splits, but he's got a very similar split time to Team New Zealand's best lap. So this is going to be close for Germany. A good lap, and it should be second place. They're going to eclipse France, I think, here. Germany about to come across the line. Yep, Germany goes second. It's New Zealand fastest, Germany second, France pushed back to third.
At 45.499, 4/10 of a second slower than New Zealand. Another superb run. So 2 drivers now into the 145s in this session, and we wait to see whether Italy, who did surprise us a little bit earlier on in the session, but now we'd anticipate Italy falling back into the position that we had anticipated. It's a good run, 147.637, but some 4/10 of a second slower than his previous best, which came in the second qualifying session.
So Italy have gone up to 11th. A quick run through the top 10 at the moment. It's New Zealand, Germany and Mexico. Mexico's just popped up to third to displace France. Good effort from Duran. Then USA 5th, Malaysia 6th, Brazil 7th, Indonesia 8th, then Netherlands and China.
Well, I think the battle for pole position, I mean, a rocket scientist could have worked this out, is going to be between New Zealand and Germany, but the real interest is going to be who is going to be in position to take third spot. Is it going to be Mexico, France, possibly USA or Malaysia? But the one team we're not seeing so much of so far in this session, of course, is Team GBR with Robbie Kerr. Robbie needs to find a bunch of time to guarantee a top 3 start position.
Yeah, but it is still possible, so we can't count anything just yet. Netherlands across the line there, and the Netherlands goes 6th fastest, 146.7. A pretty good lap there from Jeroen Bleekemolen, but he's not quite on that pole-winning pace currently.
No, he matches his first qualifying session virtually to 1,000th of a second. As we look into the garage, Robbie Kerr with 2.5 minutes remaining, so he's got to go out. He's going to have to run fairly quickly to, well, let's say comfortably quickly to get round before he then goes on to his lap. So Robbie Kerr, one of the late starters in a qualifying session, and Robbie Kerr's 2 runs to date have not been sufficiently quick. The first one a 47.09, the second one clearly was run on used tyres of 48.5, so discount GB's second run, and now we want to see what GB can do as we look back. Michael Devaney and Team Ireland, and not really having the kind of run that Ireland anticipated. A lot of work's gone into this team. Getting the car, you can see the way the back, it sort of still looks like it's ratchety over the bumps on the exit of turn 4.
Andy Miller, technical chief there for Team Ireland, keeping a close eye on that, but they do need to drag some performance out of the car. Mark Kershaw on the right looking a bit serious as well, and we've got to get 2 runs in. Everybody running out of time, and unless you get a lap in the 140, low 146s, or preferably in the 145s in this third qualifying segment, then Ireland and Great Britain are not going to feature in the battle for top honours.
And you can sort of sense Michael Devaney as he comes through, that's turn 5, that he's sort of waiting all the time for the car to get the bite, to give him the confidence and security to get on the throttle.
I tell you what, China's on for a bit of an improvement on this lap, but we'll have to, they've just gone 4th. China has just gone 4th. We're still on the lap though with Team Ireland. I don't think this lap from Team Ireland is going to leap them up the standings, but hopefully it might move them up a little bit from 19th where they are at the moment.
No, there's just not enough confidence for Michael Devaney to really hustle the car and drive it. The speed that we're seeing from particularly New Zealand and from Germany, but also China, that lap of China, 1:45.8, outstanding lap from Frankie Chan.
Yeah, really good. Here's Ireland. This should push them up a little bit, well, only a couple of places I'm afraid, up to 17th position. Meanwhile, Great Britain is about to come around to go on to its hot lap, so again Great Britain leaving it to the very last minute of the last few seconds of the session. I've just seen him go across the line, in fact, in front of our commentary box position. Canada is currently on a hot lap. Fairly good this one at the second split. They're half a second down on the very quickest time that we've seen today, but Canada are trying to improve on an overall position of 14th.
So James Hinchcliffe in for Sean McIntosh, and looking very good. A good run on that first qualifying, did a 46.897. Second qualifying session, that we can be discounted. Checkered flag is out, so this third session technically is over, but you're allowed to complete the lap wherever you are on the racetrack and take that time forward, as then within 5 minutes of the session ending, cars will be out for the fourth and final time. And to keep reminding you, you have to do 2 of 4 to get your best lap.
Good improvement for Canada, though. Overall, they've gone third. That's a 46.0 from James Hinchcliffe, and Canada goes third. It's now New Zealand, Germany, Canada. But let me tell you, USA's on an absolute storming lap here, John. They're up at the second split by 0.3 of a second. Now, what has he got to add this to? Has he got another quick lap? A reasonable one. USA is going to go into that top 3, but I'm not sure exactly where.
Well, he's got a 146.2 on his first qualifying run. So let's see what he does as he comes through these final 2 turns. So Phil Giebler, the man who absolutely amazed everybody in Zandvoort, can he elevate himself up into the top 3? And Malaysia's just gone third, and looks like USA could do the same.
Oh, they go fourth, so just eclipsed, in fact, by Malaysia. So another great run from Alex Young, but Team USA go into 4th place, and it's all getting very tight there.
Czech Republic, Gale 10th, Thomas Enger 46.2. As we go to Robbie Kerr and Team GBR, the last of the, well, we consider the front-running teams. He's got a 146.8. That's his best run in the second qualifying session. Hoping for more from Kerr on this lap.
And it puts him up to 5th, and it is a 45.9. Now, that is going to keep him in the hunt for a sort of top 4, maybe better, but really it's going to be tough for him to still go for pole.
Well, he's got to do that lap again in the 4th qualifying run, because his previous 2 are not going to be sufficient to elevate him, keep him up in the front end. He's on the 3rd row of the grid in 5th place, but Phil Giebler, who looked stunning mid-lap, just let the time drift away. We don't know where it occurred, and he was eclipsed by Alex Young in Malaysia, unseen to us, but a superb run from Alex Young, a 45.851, and that was, what, 0.02 of a second or so ahead of Team USA.
But New Zealand and Germany, these sister teams who share some engineering knowledge and who've worked together over the start of this season with slight changes around. There is Nico Hulkenberg, currently 2nd quickest to Johnny Reid in the New Zealand car. And interestingly enough, of course, Chris Gaughan has joined this team on the engineering strength. He was engineer for Team France last year, but David Sears, the team engineering boss, was telling me earlier that, you know, they've brought together some of the ideas that Chris brought in, but also some of the ideas they already had within this team, which perhaps they didn't get an opportunity to show just how good the cars were last year. The combination has certainly come good here at Brno for both these teams, New Zealand and Germany.
Yes, and the judgment is, watch the car on the racetrack, watch what the drivers' hands do, the way that they turn the steering wheel. Everybody's got to turn the wheel to go around a corner, but some make it look like a threepenny bit. It's sort of little notches all the way around the steering, whereas the top cars, the top drivers are able to do it in a smooth, progressive arc, and that's the difference.
So here we are, after 3 qualifying segments. New Zealand head Germany and Malaysia, with USA 4th, then Great Britain, Canada, Mexico. China is in 8th place, great lap from Frankie Cheng last time around. Switzerland 9th, and France has been pushed all the way down to 10th, and they're going to struggle to get to pole from there. 11th the Czech Republic, then the Netherlands, Brazil, South Africa, then Indonesia, Italy, Lebanon, Ireland, India, Australia, Greece, Singapore and Pakistan.
Okay, let's get the thoughts of Darren Manning and Tony Jardine to the 3 sessions we've seen so far in the studio, and let's get looking at this analysis, because Greece sliding all about the track. Tony, is that about car setup or inexperience? What do you put it down to?
It's about him being a rally driver, actually. Takis is well known as a rally driver. Look at that huge slide there, and suddenly the front end bites through turn 1 as well, and he was lucky to get away with that. He's got incredible car control, but it's not the way to go, is it?
Not really, especially on the first lap of these new tyres. You see him later on in the lap here, just absolutely sideways as he's getting hard on the power, but that might be maybe an experience, but maybe car setup.
This is how to do it, is it?
Yeah, this is the way to do it. Beautiful lap here from Johnny Reid. His 2nd set of new tyres, still probably got a set of new tyres. The amount of sideways, the amount of slide he's putting on the car through these corners is absolutely perfect. You know, you don't want to be getting any more angle on the car, because then you just absolutely destroy the tyres, as I found out in Zandvoort for later on in the lap. But really nice finish to the lap here as he comes across to put a 45.0, which is about half a second, if not more, faster than anybody's gone.
Tony, Nicolas Lapierre pushing and pushing it. We can see how you do it right, but this not going too right for Nicolas Lapierre.
Well, we were speculating as he was coming down to that corner. You see that big tail slide there that he manages to collect, but we were speculating he came all the way down on the curb and perhaps he picked up some dirt. Perhaps there was a little bit of dirt right on the line, but he caught a big slide there and lost a lot of time. And personally, I'm quite pleased to see France down in 10th place, because it makes it even more of a competition in the final segment. Did I say that politically correctly?
They've got a long way to go though, haven't they? So too Robbie Kerr.
Yeah, he's only a 10th up on the French guys as well, so both French and GBR have got to really step up an absolute mega lap in this last sector.
Okay, let's see who can beat Johnny Reid. That's the time to beat at the moment. The final qualifying session underway in Brno. Let's go back trackside to John Watson and Ben Edwards to guide you through it.
So Italy, they're a bit further down the order. They're in 16th place at the moment. They don't really have a particularly quick lap in the bank that they can add to, so it looks as though they're looking for a sort of top 15 position. Singapore, of course, one of the newer teams, and a first qualifying performance from Dennis Lyons. First time he's ever done one of these 4-segment qualifying sessions. And John, I think all the drivers find it exciting, but it's a challenge, isn't it?
It's difficult, particularly again on a lap of this length. I mean, most drivers today are accustomed to driving on racetracks of a shorter length than we have here in Brno. So that is a big factor. Again, we mentioned about how you bring the tyre in, how you extract the maximum performance from that tyre over the duration of that 3.36 miles. You don't want to go too hard on your out lap, because you'll pick up, you'll waste, if you like, some of the pickup of performance. Yet at the same time, if you go too slow, and there's a bit of excitement in the Czech Republic's pits. I wonder what they're doing there.
Well, they're hopefully cheering Thomas Engrom, and he needs it, because they need a bit more performance. 46.
Excuse me, Vicar, let's have the performance enhancement after qualifying, not before.
Well, he needs something, doesn't he? Because he's down in 11th place at the moment. 46.2 his best, so he needs one in the low 45s to really feature. They're the one you're talking about, John, who did put in a 1 minute 45. Frankie Chen could spring a surprise.
This China could be the sleeper of this qualifying session.
Well, the session is underway now. Got a couple of cars out on circuit. Greece and Singapore have taken to the track already, but Team Canada are waiting. Currently 6th quickest with youngster James Hinchcliffe, who has been impressive. He drove at Zandvoort last week, and now he's got another opportunity to race here. Back with Nur Ali. He is 23rd and last of the 23 cars. His last lap time was a 1:53.1. His best so far is a 1:51.7, so he wants to try and get a bit closer to that on this last run. He's actually on the hot lap at the moment, so you're watching him attack the track as much as he can, given the lack of experience that he's got in these more powerful single-seaters. And of course, there's been a time between this race and the next one in China. Perhaps there's going to be a bit more opportunity for him to get up to speed.
Yes, and I think there was a fairly big sort of cultural shock for Nur Ali when he got into the car in Zandvoort. These cars are much more physical than anything he's ever driven before. The performance clearly is way beyond cars that he's raced in. And of course, you're going to tough circuits. Zandvoort is a very physically tough racetrack. This is not of the nature of Zandvoort, because the corners have no real camber. A couple of the downhill corners are slightly cambered, but they're not really difficult corners. And he's just on that very vertical learning curve, and give the man a chance, and no doubt we'll see the kind of performances coming from Pakistan that we saw on occasions from Adam Khan, who was in this car in the first series of A1GP.
Climbing back up the hill then, this 70 metre or 240 foot climb all the way up the hill, and the engine working very hard up this stretch. But of course, they've all got the same engine, so it's all got the same sort of horsepower. You're not going to get an advantage over anybody else in terms of engine power. It's all down to how the chassis puts the power onto the road, and that's where the engineers can make a difference, and where the driving style can make a difference too.
Well, the throttle pedal, unlike some people's view, is not a light switch. It's something there to be modulated, and the way you use that throttle pedal in conjunction with the grip available from the rear tyres is the key to going quickly. You've also got to get the car to turn into the corner, but that's the combination of engineering and driving.
His time then a 1:50.8, so that was his individual fastest time for Nur Ali, so he's still learning, still improving, and let's hope that Singapore are doing likewise.
So a little bit again of a learning curve for Singapore. It is not easy just to come into a situation and drive, and Dennis Lyon in the car, and makes his way around the racetrack. currently they're 22nd of 23rd. His best lap of so far in the 3 sessions is a 1:49.2. If he can combine that with another lap below the 1:30, I think he'll feel satisfied with his afternoons at work.
Actually, him and Grease are pretty close, and Grease just crossed the line a moment ago with a 1:49.7. If he could get into the 1:48s on this lap, Dennis Lee, and he's got a chance of actually nipping ahead, I think, of the Greek car. We'll have to wait and see, but if he could really sort of wind himself up here and do his own personal best time, he might be able to snatch one position back from Team Greece. These two brand new teams to A1GP.
So, and as Leon comes through the final turn, again you could see the turn in slightly, and runs, well, kept it on track, but quite easily could have let the rear drop off, so stays in 22nd place. He does improve, he goes to a 49.474, but in fact that is his second fastest of the 4 qualifying session laps.
So he doesn't quite manage to go back ahead of Greece. Meanwhile, in the pits, New Zealand just wait patiently for the chance to see whether Johnny Reid is going to defend this pole position that he has provisionally earned so far.
So sitting there, just waiting, watching the timing screens, never knowing, as this young man, Nico Hülkenberg, who we were very impressed with. I think the world sort of discovered Nico Hülkenberg in Zandvoort. Others within the industry have known, they've seen his performances in Formula 3 and in Formula BMW. But Germany and New Zealand right now really are the class of the field, and it's going to be quite difficult, in my view, to see any other nation deposing either Germany or New Zealand from a lockout in the front row of the grid.
But USA is not too far behind. They did do that 1:45.8 second lap last time, and he was well up on the first 2 splits. So Phil Keeper may still be able to spring a bit of a surprise. I think he will, as you say. I think he'll struggle to beat New Zealand and Germany. Good chance though of snatching third. It's very close between himself and Malaysia.
Yeah, I mean, I think the battle for the top 3 qualifying positions is going to be between Malaysia, USA, Great Britain, and Mexico. It's possible, though I'm not sure Salvador Duran has done sufficient. His best lap is still a 46.4, and Canada's best lap, well, Canada's more likely to do it than Mexico, to be fair.
So here we are, riding on board with Arman Ibrahim for Team India, currently running down in 19th position, so he's got 1 lap in the 1:48 so far. Could do with finding another second or 2 really to sort of boost him up the order somewhat, just behind Ireland and Lebanon, but ahead of Australia, Greece and Singapore.
Well, speed in the helmet and hopefully speed from the cockpit for Arman Ibrahim. And this young man, only 17 years of age, and you're working with a very experienced team now, and hopefully that experience will filter through. And of course, it's not simply just about opening the throttle and turning the steering wheel, it's about many, many aspects. And at this very young and tender age, Arman Ibrahim hopefully will pick up all the lessons available to him from his team management.
Yes, indeed. Getting back into an A1 car after a season of racing slightly lesser powered cars in the UK, so he's got to readapt his driving style. But he was pretty impressive when he first came into A1 last year and had some good experience in the races, although India didn't quite complete the entire season. Hopefully they'll put a full programme together this time around. Into the final couple of corners, he's looking to try and improve on Ireland's combined time at the moment. I don't think this will be enough. He actually needs a pretty big chunk to do that, so I think he's probably going to stay around that 19th place. Yes, across the line he does stay in 19th, so no improvement for Team India.
Though nevertheless that lap from India, 1:47.8, was a 1/10 of a second faster than Ireland's fastest lap. So Ireland cannot just sit back on their laurels and think, well, we've got a comfortable, or whatever you care to call, 18th position on the grid. They will have to work to consolidate it, and clearly Ireland needing to do a lot more work to get the performance out of the car to match those at the front.
Could see a big jump from Lebanon here, because their best time was set in the second qualifying segment, but their other 2 laps were both pretty slow, so they're in an unrepresentative 17th position at the moment. And just looking at these splits coming through, he's going fairly quickly, could be on for a lap in the 46s again, I think.
So up into turn 11, keep it neat and tidy, then make the switch back. And the car balanced, the control looks pretty good, so that's a good drive out of turn 12 now, up this steepest part of the racetrack, all the way up to turn 13. And almost you get to the point where you go past the 100-metre board, you can just about see the corner, on the brakes, down 2 gears, and then the cut. Again, I like to see that hand position on a racing car. That to me looks like a very nicely balanced car for Lebanon.
So Lebanon 17th, jumped up to 11th. That was a good lap, a 1:46.5, just outside the top 10 there for Team Lebanon. Bobby Rahal at the back of that group, a bit of a smile on his face. I think that's a pretty good effort from Graham, who of course didn't race the car last week, has had to get back into the whole system of A1 qualifying very quickly. But here we go then, John. The battle for pole really between New Zealand and Germany Germany, and Germany heading out onto circuit.
So Germany is blinked first, and Johnny Reid is going to say sits in the car almost impassively and waits. Now he can wait another couple of minutes. He may not choose to wait to see the outcome of this lap from the young German, but Nico Hülkenberg, and a man, just everything he does around the race car, everything he does in his own personal preparation, just smacks of somebody who's got a big career ahead of him. And those stretching exercises we saw him doing prior to the start of qualifying, just to limber up, get the body warm, to give himself every opportunity to perform at his maximum. So he's got to find, well, it's looking at some 7/7 of a second, but it'll all depend in this last qualifying session as the track begins to get a little bit busier, and that's something that Germany will have to be careful of. They don't find themselves overrunning a car that's maybe on an out lap or on an in lap.
Yep, critical to try and find clear space. I think it's certainly within Germany's capability of putting a lap in that's quick enough to take pole here, but let's wait and see if that happens. Riding at the moment with Team Italy, Alessandro Pierre Guidi, they're down in 17th.
Yeah, it's been an interesting. Italy have struggled with the car from time to time. On new tyres, it masks the basic deficiency that the car has. But when you get into a race situation, I think for Guidi it'll be a real difficult job.
17th at the moment, and they stay 17th. So it's going to be a bit of a hard work job in the sprint race to move up from there. They're ahead of Team Ireland. They're also ahead of India, but they're just behind Indonesia. Let's just watch. This was a moment on that lap which cost him valuable hundredths, perhaps.
Yes, again, running wide on the exit of a corner, and every time you do that, you've got to check the car. You may have to come out of the throttle. As we now look at Australia dropping down. This is down through turns 5. No, this is down to the lowest part of the circuit, down at turn 10, and the climb begins, turning up much tighter and steeper than it appears again on camera. So you really have to position the car to quite an acute turn into turn 11. Then you can release the car, free the car up on the exit of 12, and then you start this uphill climb and levels out just before you make your entry into turn 13. Smooth through 13, then big commitment has to be made here through the final turn 14.
Currently in 20th position. I don't think they're going to jump much from there. They may gain a place or two if Karl Reindler's really got a lap together. No, I'm afraid not. They stay in 20th. They're behind India. They're ahead of Greece, Singapore and Pakistan. But for podium finish Australia, that's going to be a bit of a disappointment. Now then, what is Team Germany going to achieve here? Looking at the splits, and he's up on the individual lap time, but only by a few thousandths. And that means he's on target for maybe a high 1:44 if he can keep it all together.
Well, he looks so good. You can even, again, this whole body language from the driver in the car and the attitude of the car on the racetrack. He's so much in control, his brain, the ability to assess every element that's going on within the cockpit, what's coming up on the racetrack. Little correction on the exit as he drops down out of turn 9 all the way down to turn 10. Johnny Reid still in the pits, 2.5 minutes remaining. And is he going to sit out and wait? No, he locks it up. He locks it up into turn 10. Look at the flat spot on that right front tire. That may well have blown it for Germany to take the provision, if not the confirmed pole for this Saturday and Sunday's race, sprint and feature.
He missed the apex as well. Now it's time for New Zealand to come out.
And that news, no doubt, will be relayed to Johnny Reid. Young Nico Hülkenberg into turn 10, just pushed too hard, got that lock up, and again, I suspect the best he can do is stay in the second position.
It looks like this is going to be a low 1:45, but is it going to be enough to challenge for pole? Germany across the line, and yes it is, they do take pole. It's a 1:45.025, so he somehow got it back on that last segment.
Well, I can assure you, if he hadn't had that problem going into turn 10, we would have seen the first, if not the only, single lap in that 1:44. There it is, that's the lockup. He missed the apex. He had to stay out wide, had to wait till the speed came off before he could get back on the throttle, and instantly the New Zealand team, pulled the tyre rollers off the car. Johnny Reid is out on track as we go back to France.
So the battle is truly on between Germany and New Zealand for pole position, but what can France do? They find themselves down in 11th place. They will jump up from there because they've got one good lap in the bank, but as long as Nicholas doesn't make a mistake, because he did last time around.
Well, he's going to have to find an enormous amount of time, because that lap on his first run was only a 46.05. We're talking about only a 46. So he comes across start-finish line, and whether Nicolas Lapierre can do enough to get up, well, they've gone 5th on the 3rd row of the grid, and it may not even be that.
So France, 5th fastest. They've got some work to do when it comes to the races here. 5th potentially for France, but as you say, they may lose that place. Great Britain could pass them, so could Canada. And Canada currently 7th and currently on a hot lap.
So James Hinchcliffe, the young Canadian who has impressed the Canadian organisation so much so that Sean McIntosh, the man who won for Team Canada in Indonesia earlier this year, was taken out of the car after his Friday practice. Back in, James Hinchcliffe, currently in 7th place. Can he jump up and eclipse France? We wait to see.
Well, it's looking good. He's up on the split time there, as you saw. He's on target for a low 1 minute 45, and if he does that, he will eclipse France, and he'll also put USA and even perhaps Malaysia under pressure. He could pop up to 3rd, but it depends on the latter part of the lap. James Hinchcliffe, who's been racing in the United States this year, young man, gets a little bit sideways through the first part of the final sequence, but it's clean on the exit. This is going to move Canada up, surely. Canada goes into 3rd. Good effort that from James Hinchcliffe.
Yes, a superb run. That little movement in turn 13, well, it didn't really affect very much. He is all about turn 14. Now we go to Alex Young. We haven't seen so much of the Malay driver here so far, but Alex Young down to 4th place, just eclipsed by Canada, has a very good opportunity to put himself back into 3rd on the grid. Whether it's enough to challenge, well, we don't know what Germany has done it. We don't know what New Zealand's capable of doing. 2nd place may be available if New Zealand fail to deliver on their final run.
Malaysia definitely back on the pace here this weekend. Where's this going to put Alex Young? Malaysia goes 3rd.
China 4th.
Oh wow, China's just popped up to 4th. Canada's pushed back to 5th place. They're all putting quick laps in right at the end of the session. Now what's USA doing?
And New Zealand still out on track, so USA and New Zealand currently in 2nd place, but they haven't finished the lap. America comes across the start-finish line 6th. Where will they finish?
USA crosses. They stay in 6th place. No improvement this time from Philip Giebler. Bit of a disappointment at the end, but here's Great Britain. Now Great Britain has a big opportunity, down in 10th at the moment, but they could jump up the standings if this is a good lap. It is a good lap. It's 4th, from 10th to 4th in one lap there for Great Britain. And New Zealand's taken it. New Zealand with the final lap there has retaken pole position by just under a half a second on the combined time.
Well, absolutely, Johnny Reid. Look there, you see the German team. They are delighted. Fantastic
the
performance
New Zealand
from Johnny
team.
Reid. Yes, New Zealand team.
And yeah, he's done it. He's beaten the Germans, their sister team. What a rivalry between those two. It was wonderful. And that was the fastest individual lap of the entire session. He didn't quite get into the 1 minute 44s, but a brilliant piece of driving from Johnny Reid. And he has said, I want to drive New Zealand's A1GP car. And I tell you what, with a performance like that, he may get to drive it a bit more often than had been originally planned. He does know this circuit. He has raced here before, but nonetheless, that was a brilliant effort through all 4 qualifying segments.
And that's what you have to do. You have to be fast, but above all, consistency. We saw that Germany made that major error down in turn 10. It was only a little lock-up, but it dragged the car offline. He had to wait to get back on the throttle, and that was the reason why the battle for pole position really went to New Zealand. Once they knew that had happened, it took the pressure off Johnny Reid. He could drive in a more free manner and therefore consolidate that lap and take pole position. First time for New Zealand, pole position, job done. Now they've got to look forward to the sprint race on Sunday.
That is a huge achievement, and for Colin Giltrap, the seat holder, what a moment it will be to take their first pole. That is crucial, and in terms of looking towards the races on the weekend, they're now ideally placed, of course. Germany 2nd, Malaysia, probably the surprise, I would say, of qualifying here was Malaysia. Great effort to get into 3rd position. Let's just quickly run through the results now. New Zealand on top, on pole position for the first time in A1GP. Germany 2nd, Malaysia 3rd, Great Britain 4th, China an excellent 5th. That's China's best ever qualifying effort. Canada 6th, USA 7th, Czech Republic in 8th, then France down in 9th and Switzerland in 10th place. Mexico had to settle for 11th, Netherlands at 12th, then Lebanon, South Africa 14th, winners of the sprint race and pole position last time, but down in 14th, then 15th for Brazil, Indonesia, followed by Italy, Ireland disappointing in 18th, India 19th, then Australia, Greece, and the final 2 runners, Singapore and Pakistan.
A1GP has arrived in the Czech Republic for its 2nd race weekend of the new season. Much anticipation in Brno after the success of Zandvoort. It's Team New Zealand, though, who are leading the way going into race day. Let's just recap for you what happened in qualifying. An exciting afternoon, which sees New Zealand's Johnny Reid get the fastest lap time in qualifying in that the last session. Germany in second spot, and Nico Hulkenberg in the driving seat for them. Alex Young of Malaysia in third, just pipping Robbie Kerr in fourth. And it's China, surprise fifth place, James Hinchcliffe of Canada in sixth, Philip Giebler of the USA in seventh, Thomas Enger of the Czech Republic in eighth, and it's France and Switzerland who complete the top 10. OK, let's get the thoughts of Darren and Tony in the studio, and let's start by talking first about Team Lebanon, which might seem like a bizarre choice, but they're 13th at the moment, Tony. Graham Rahal in the driving seat. Is it a matter of time before they manage to put points on the board?
It is, and this is why we're watching them very carefully, because Graham has enormous experience stateside in the Champ Car Atlantic Series. He's just finished runner-up. I was talking to him mid-year when he was sniffing around in Europe, going into GP2 later on, maybe next year. So we're expecting great things, and his dad is here as well, Bobby Rahal, Indy 500 winner, Champ Car winner, team owner, etc., watching his young son's progress. And to be honest, it's not that good. I'm quite disappointed in it. He had a couple of runs last year and he finished outside the points as well. I think it's more a question of getting tuned in now to these new cars.
Yeah, I think also, George, I think he was a bit hindered by having to use a second set of tyres during the practice session, which saw him fastest this morning. Maybe he had a lock up on his tyres or something like that, which maybe spoilt it a bit for him.
We talked about the importance of a committed drive, and this is one man who shows just that, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, he was Germany, Nico. He obviously won the feature race and showed great pace in Zandvoort, and he was on pole position with two great laps for a long time until New Zealand just pipped him at the last car to cross the finish line. But yeah, that team Supernova, they've got the front row of the grid cleared up there, and this was a mistake on that lap, which probably actually cost him. You see him here locking up, going into the hairpin. He just had to adjust his racing line a little bit towards the end of the corner there, but still probably cost him maybe 2 or 3 tenths and maybe that pole position.
You mentioned Supernova Racing. They are very, very happy indeed, because they have spots 1 and 2 on the grid for the sprint race tomorrow, with New Zealand and Germany in second. David Sears has been speaking to Lee McKenzie.
Sears, you're a very happy man. New Zealand and Germany. You were running between those two pit walls. I didn't know quite where your allegiance was lying sometimes.
Well, no, we obviously wrote the script yesterday, but we weren't sure whether the drivers had remembered their lines or not.
It was a fantastic performance by both young drivers. I mean, you've had a lot of young drivers, Montoya, Mark Webber, all these guys. It must be so pleasing, though, to have two who can just really fight till the very end.
No, it's fantastic, and I mean, competition is healthy, and competition between teams that are both within the same house is obviously healthy as well, and let's hope they don't take each other off in the race tomorrow.
What happens in these situations? I mean, you're one team running two countries. Do you share the analysis? I mean, how far does that go?
No, it's every man to himself, but I mean, hopefully it'll be down to the last lap, but let's wait and see.
David, thanks very much. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Supernova Racing very happy, but with slightly split allegiances. Tony, let's get your thoughts on this. We saw it last year with the Dams team, with France and with Switzerland, that they were both running. Are we going to expect more of the same then from New Zealand and Germany this campaign?
I think you have to, because the common denominator is the team and the team expertise. What I was surprised about was that Supernova actually got the job from West Surrey Racing and Dick Bennett's, and Dick Bennett's is a Kiwi, a massive Kiwi. Dick Bennett's is actually an old flatmate of mine when he was running people like Senna and so on. So obviously I stick up for Dick. Lots of good paddies, mate. But no, it was quite a surprise move. But then, Supernova, top professionals, they ran people like Juan Pablo Montoya in Formula 3000. They won the championship 4 times. His dad, David Sears' dad, was Gentleman Jack Sears, who was a great racer in the UK, won the British Touring Car Championship, etc. Tremendous pedigree runs throughout that family. They're a real racing family.
Let's talk about New Zealand, because we haven't seen them in action. But Darren, with new tyres out there, and they managed to post the fastest lap, they were out last as well. How much does Johnny Reid want this drive permanently?
Yeah, he was obviously very frustrated just sitting in the sidelines at Zandvoort, and I think that's the good thing about this A1 Grand Prix. you know, and challenging with Robbie for that drive, and you know, it probably brings out the best in you. You know, I'm itching to get back in the car, and I'm sure it's made Johnny go faster this weekend. I'm sure Matt Halliday's, you know, kicking himself, you know, that he didn't do a better job at Zandvoort maybe.
Looking down the grid, we perhaps expect to see the likes of Robbie Kerr in 4th place, but what about China?
Ah, my man, Frankie goes to Czechoslovakia. There he is. I'll tell you. We were talking earlier on about driver coaches, how important they are, and in Cheng's case, you've got Mark Hines, who was '99 Formula 3 champ, a good buddy of yours, very experienced. He's brought him on tremendously. Emerging nations in the A1GP, China's one that we've marked out, and it's great for them and great to see them up there because they now have Chinese Grand Prix, of course, a fabulous circuit which we'll be visiting and later in the series.
Okay, chaps, thanks for the moment. Time to take a quick break. When we come back, reaction to that qualifying result from Bruno and a look ahead to race day with Darren and Tony.
In over 80 years of the victory.
Welcome back to Brno, to A1GP's second race weekend in the new calendar. Looks like we're in for another action-packed race day if qualifying is anything to go by. There's a press conference taking place in Brno. Let's get over to it. John Watson asking the questions of the top 3.
Well, first of all, Team New Zealand, Johnny Reid, many congratulations. Outstanding qualification here in Brno today. I suspect the Sauvignon Blanc's flowing already in New Zealand.
Yeah, it was a fantastic result for us. Our first pole in A1 Grand Prix, and I'm just stoked to bring it to New Zealand.
And not only was the first pole, there was 4 superb qualifying laps, never a mistake.
Yeah, there was one error on the last lap. I think we could have cracked the 44s, but it wasn't too bad. I'm happy to be on pole.
Well, you should be happy because you got the single individual fastest lap of the whole session as well. So, I mean, it's full house.
Yeah, I guess it's race driver. You're always pushing to the limit.
Well, alongside you, Nico Hülkenberg, who won the feature race in Germany. Congratulations, Nico. Again, equally a superb qualifying. But just on that last session, into turn 10, locked up the inside wheel, a little bit of a flat spot.
Yeah, I was pushing a little bit too hard in turn 6 and 7. I think I had little problems there to fight to be on the track. But yeah, I'm happy to be on 2.
Now, Nico, your Team Germany and Team New Zealand are run by a sister team. Is there any crossover of information, or are you operating as 2 separate teams?
No, of course, our supported team is Supernova, as everybody knows. And of course, we are sharing information, sharing data. And I can look through his and he to mine, so we try to help each other.
So, New Zealand have got the pole here, but you won in Zandvoort. Do you think you got the advantage?
No, I don't know. This is a new game in Zandvoort. New Zealand had another driver. Now it's Johnny, and I think it's going to be a tough race.
It will be a tough race, and alongside you, a man who knows what tough races are all about, Alex Young. Alex, congratulations for Team Malaysia. We didn't get to see an awful lot of you on any of those qualifiers, but you got there. The laps just came, and that last run again, outstanding.
Yeah, thanks very much. I'd have to say thank you to the team. You know, we were struggling yesterday, but we made a lot of changes, and the car was a lot better. And it's really down to them. You know, the car was good.
Now, you've won on tough circuits, and these are 2 young men. I mean, you're middle 20s, you're quite old compared to these 2. What do you think for Sunday's race, particularly the sprint race? You've got to get the performance, to get the job done, to get grid position for the feature.
Yeah, well, hopefully I go back and these guys will share some information with me as well. You know, they're very chummy over here. Yeah, no, it's going to be crucial. You know, I mean, I think you got to be careful in the sprint race because you don't want to ruin it. You know, you got to get to the finish so you get good grid position for the main race.
So for you, Johnny, back to Team New Zealand, it's a 20-minute sprint race. Not an awful lot of time. You've got to go out and consolidate to confirm your grid position for the feature race. No problems at all, I reckon.
No, I'm fairly confident. We've been through the processes, we've done the testing, and yeah, the team have done a fantastic job with providing me a great car, so I'm fairly confident for the racing.
Well, I think these guys are going to get very short odds if you want to go to the bookies, so let's back up to Ben upstairs and finish up.
Confirmation then of how the sprint race grid looks for race day. New Zealand on top, Johnny Reid with the fastest lap time of qualifying in the last session. Nico Hülkenberg of Germany in 2nd spot. Malaysia's Alex Young takes 3rd. Also on the 2nd row, GBR and Robbie Kerr. China in 5th, Canada in 6th, USA 7th. To Czech, the home hope line up in 8th. In 9th, it's France, and 10th, it's Switzerland. OK, let's get more reaction from Tony and from Darren. Tony, one driver yet to mention in any detail is Alex Young. How impressed have you been by his performance throughout qualifying?
Very impressed, because I'd watched him when he was racing Grand Prix and talked to the guy when he was agonising over starting at the back from yet another Grand Prix in the Minardi, but he kept pushing away. He won in China last year superbly, and then if you remember in Netherlands last week he hit Switzerland off the grid, went into the pits and had to have the suspension fixed, but he came out and set the fastest lap. That was a clue to how well Malaysia are going this year, so I'm not surprised, but I'm very pleased for Alex Young.
Someone else who's caught my eye today, James Hinchcliffe, Darren, got the nod over Sean McIntosh. Can you see why?
Well, I think just his pace and performance. You know, I was there when he first drove for Canada in these kind of driver auditions down in Pembrey in Wales, and he was absolutely on the pace right from the word go, and he's shown, you know, ultimate pace over Sean. You know, Sean's been driving in Renault World Series, a very different car to drive than these A1 cars, and to be honest, Sean's got more. James has got more driving experience in these A1 cars of recent times. So Sean just with the fact that there's not much time to get up to speed, he's ended up being faster and got the nod in this situation.
Team France in ninth, some surprise there, Tony, but high expectations in the France camp, I expect, and perhaps that's not easy as a driver to work under.
No, it's very difficult because 13 wins last year, 6 of them to Lapierre. They're not used to starting in that sort of position. But I think things went quite wrong in the Netherlands with the gearbox problem and the big half spin and so on. So they've taken a bit of a knock there. But as Drio says, the Dam's boss, Jean-Paul Giraud, said, he said, listen, we know we're the target. We know everyone's aiming for us because we've been on top for so long. And they're there to be shot down, and I'm pleased to see that they have been shot down.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was with this qualifying format, you have to do 2 very fast laps. I mean, Johnny Reid, he did a 45.0 in 2 sessions. Nobody else got within half a second of that lap, apart from Germany, who only did it on 1 lap. And with France, they made a mistake in that one sector, so that's one set of new tyres absolutely wasted, and you know, ended up paying the price of just having 1 slow lap and 1 fast lap.
And while we've got you here, Darren, Team GBR on the second row, what's their game plan going to be?
Well, I think that's not too bad position for him. Second row, he can run in a sprint race and try and get you know, get up there for the feature race. So he'll be just going out to just gain maybe 1 or 2 spots for the feature race.
Okay, let's just remind you of times for that. A1GP Brno live from the Czech Republic. It gets underway from 1 p.m. on Sky Sports Extra. Saturday, November the 11th, the date for your diary for the next A1GP race weekend. Qualifying from A1GP China, 6 a.m. Sky Sports 3, and same time, same place for race day, 6 a.m. Sky Sports 3. So my thanks to my studio guests, Darren Manning and Tony Jardine. In the end, it was a fight for first, but for Team Supernova, a win-win situation. See you for race day.